G'day guys, welcome back. We're starting on the painting that we were working on out on the lake. So there was a piece of work we had on the pontoon, we had the easel on top of that strapped down tightly, and this is layer one. So we can see some lines, these mountains here, they're at the far end of the lake. We have the lake in here, again match the colours of the sky, because matchy, sky reflects lake, the lake reflects sky. And then we have here a couple of bushes, these aren't mountains, bushes, mountains, bushes, mountains, bushes. They're here at the edge of the lake touching the water, and then we have through here, lovely grass leading out to the lake, and then flax in here. This little dark shape through here is a tree cutting into the edge of the photo. So that's everything we've got here. Now, layer two. Let's see where we can take it. This one's not typical in that we've got a whole lot of, I hope the sound's not coming through these. Are they? Maybe. We'll stop that. Hold on. There we go. That'll fix that. A whole lot of green. Now, I don't normally use green, but now we're using green. Let me just have a little look-see here. There we go. Just flick that across there. New Zealand summer's going fantastically. Absolutely fantastically. Now we need to decide. Oh, it's going to be turquoise, I think. This blue's already combined with turquoise. Doing enough of that. But we might come in with some ultramarine. You know, ultramarine blue. This actually isn't ultramarine blue, this is French ultramarine blue. Not that there's much difference, but if you've been here before and you've heard this yarn, prepare yourself, you're going to hear it again. Ultramarine blue. I love this colour. Ultra meaning beyond, marine meaning sea, both in Latin, and that means beyond sea. So when they discovered this blue, it was very expensive when they first discovered it. They called it beyond blue because it was the most beautiful deep blue they could get. Now it's called French ultramarine blue because the French government put out, I think this was in 1814 or 1836, they put out a request for anyone, a reward if you can make it synthetic ultramarine blue. Anyway, it was a Frenchman who actually came up with it, and thus the name French ultramarine blue. But a lot of people at that point in time were trying to get a synthetic ultramarine. And that's all good, Jay. Thanks for popping on in, I appreciate that. You get on with whatever you've got going on with your day, and I know the intention's to want to pop around and stay for longer, but if you can't, it's totally all good. We're going into 2024, so we're going to be around more often, doing our thing, so if you miss this session, don't worry, there'll be another, there'll always be another. And hey bold dreamer, welcome on in. Welcome on in. Alright, so with this first layer, all the paint is really bold. It's really bold. It's 100%, say 100% opacity or 0% opacity? Regardless, there's no transparency on the paint so far. But now going into it, we're adding in this white liquid. Or 0% opacity? Regardless, there's no transparency on the paint so far. But now going into it, we're adding in this white liquid. And this white liquid is a painting medium that adds a little bit of transparency to it. So we mix it about 1 part paint, 2 parts white liquid to get about a 50% opacity. And through that, we'll keep all this wild layering, all this wild detail, and start building in these additional layers with transparency built in, and that way we don't lose what's underneath. More layers show up, you can see through them all, but they add to the overall effect. That's the goal. It is very Monet, but the difference between Monet and this is Monet would do thick, almost impasto-like paint with solid colour. Pow, 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 pow. I see red here, I put red here. My style is a little more nuanced because what I do is after the first pow, pow, pow layer, I start adding this transparency gel in to try and thin it out, to try and actually make sure additional layers go on, more colours come in, and then you can see through every single layer, right the way through to the base. That's the goal. Anyway, paint on canvas. There we go. Beautiful. That's what we're after. Keep that about 50%. So you can see straight through that. You can see the pink, you can see the Payne's grey, you can see the Kaffir lime, the green that we had in there. All of that stands out. This part here, this is a tree. Tree sort of comes in there from the left, jumps onto the canvas, and breaks up the sort of horizontal line formation we've got going on. This tree's very, it adds an asymmetry to the composition, which I like. I like that a lot. There we go. Gotta be careful. The more of this gel we put in there, the more the paint wants to run. So we can put it on thick, but not too thick. Otherwise, it's all downhill. How challenging is it transporting the canvas after painting different pieces? It depends. This is Masonite. Masonite travels really well, but how challenging is it? Look, I like to meet that challenge, and you'll see in the most recent reel, I went out there to the middle of the lake, right out there in the middle of nowhere. I took out the surface we're painting, the easel, and I took out the pontoon to keep me afloat. And that was one of probably the most top 10 challenging places to paint. Probably number one was on a wharf with the wind, which was actually on dry land, technically. But that was really tough because the wind was so strong. And that's true. Ray, I agree with you. Just like your nephew could do the dirt foundations to build a house, but could your nephew build a house? And so if you looked at the foundations of a house and said, my nephew can do that, is it really a relevant statement? Kinda. I'm still proud of your nephew. Either way. Hey Birdie, how you doing? Welcome on in. Birdie, I'm not sure how you've spent your 2024 so far, but I hope you've been smashing out some painting. Smashing out some painting. Getting through some layers. Of course, with your work, there's so much intricate detail. So, you've got to find a wonderful place to settle down. Just enjoy yourself for a long period. Hey Jay, how you doing? So Jay, we're out here in the shade at the moment, but I've brought the router closer to this position, and because of that, we can actually get the Wi-Fi right here. But this is as close as I can get to the lake. You'll see behind me there, if you can make it out. Oh no, I'll bring you around. There we go. There's a little dinghy. I'm not sure if it's, I think it's seaworthy, lake-worthy. Staying close, but it might work. And then we got this work we're doing here. That's the plan. There we go. LJ, it's buffering a bit at times. Ah, that's niggly, but anyway. Hopefully it improves, LJ. Now there's this... There we go. Perfect. Finished 2 paintings so far this year, starting a commission tomorrow. Birdie, you're an absolute champion. That's awesome. That is awesome. 2 paintings this year. starting a commission tomorrow. Woohoo! There we go. Let's get that through there. And slash a little bit down through here. Lovely. And we'll slash a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. So with the ultramarine blue, we're capturing those areas that would typically be a very dark grey. So horizon line, plants on the beach line, and all of that flax through here. Just a little bit in that grass. And we're going to need to deviate into a whole bunch of greens. I've dabbled in the greens so far. They're obviously in the picture. You can see my favoritism towards those baby blues, deep blues, and pinks. But obviously, greens will play the most fundamental role in this image because it's a landscape of green nature. You know, I think Birdie, I see a lot of your paintings you've done. I think I would love to go to a waterfall and paint it. Something special about the waterfalls. I've seen you do a few actually. Hey Luna. The beauty behind a waterfall is it streams down so consistently that in some ways, even though the fact that it's running water, you can still paint exactly what you see. You capture that static moment, which I reckon's pretty cool. They're your favourite thing? Alright, alright. I haven't done enough of them. Definitely for me, portraits. Portraits are my number one. I love watching a face come together. That's just so satisfying. So, especially when you don't paint the elementary building blocks of it, you just put the shapes and tones and colours where you see them, and slash and slash and slash, and then a face, drop the brush, comes on out of the city ether and shows up on the canvas. Well worth doing. Let's get the grass off the brush. Maybe one day, Birdie. Maybe one day. Here we go. This through here. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now remember with this colour, if you see it going down and it seems quite light, almost like a cerulean blue, don't be tricked, because as ultramarine blue goes, with the gel through it, it has this white tinge, but when it dries, it'll be a deep dark ultramarine. So we've got to make sure we keep that in mind when we add it. Stay on those dark grey spaces, and don't get attracted to the medium grey spaces, because that's a trick. Well, Birdie, you've got that much accuracy with your brush. You absolutely already have the hard skills or the craft ability to make any portrait you wanted to make. I think the one catch you'll run into is that ability, you know, when you see a landscape, you are able to see rock faces and bits of grass and trees and sky. For it to be correct as a portrait, or in this sort of wild style, you'd have to learn to ignore that. You'd have to learn to actually think, I don't see a nose, I don't see a face, I don't see eyes or ears or whatever, and maybe you already do this. But if you're able to do that and just see shapes and see tones, then faces come together in a way that's much more real. You capture more of that person's individual character rather than some boring repetition of what you think a face should look like. And you know what I'm talking about. You've seen it a million times of like, this is the nose, this is the ears, this is the eyes, but they're not their eyes. They're the same as a million different replications of what that should look like. So absolutely, I reckon you could be fantastic at it. And actually you might find that portraits are where you go to loosen up, to really fly off the rails, and you go back to your landscapes. You go back to your landscapes for that definitive control, but then you go to your portraits to completely lose that control, and be quite fun. Or they could be the same. Who knows? It's part of the fun. And thanks, Jay Smith. I appreciate that. You're a champion. There we go. And make sure we don't overextend this colour. Just use it the right amount. You'll see here I'm using a paper plate. It's very naughty of me. Should always be on the porcelain plates. But here, all the water is harder to procure. Therefore, it's better to be on the paper plates, because the energy it would take to actually wash the porcelain plates. So there's method to the madness. Happy New Year, Darren. Welcome on in. Now, I reckon really want something a bit more wilder. Just to really zing this thing into shape. I reckon grab some. See, normally I'd say magenta. Magenta's already in it. Purples? Purples would be fun, but they already kind of exist in between these pinks and blues. We need a wild card, a shake-up card. Yeah, 100% Birdie, 100%. There's a million YouTube videos on the illusion of control, but I don't like that, saying the illusion of control or lose control, all these sort of terms. I prefer to say accept chaos, and the idea behind that is to say that while you're making art, you're dealing with an enigma, you're dealing with something that changes, flies in different directions, is somewhat uncontrollable. And the more you try and control it, the more repetitious and lifeless it becomes. So we need to lose ourselves in it. Now, when we talk like that, if we're able to embrace that randomness, embrace that chaoticness, perhaps we can get something really new. Although, it's not all beer and Skittles. It's a New Zealand term. You know what Skittles are? They're a lolly. It's not all beer and Skittles. A lot of the time, you might end up ruining a painting. That's the price you pay. I love this term, for footling. Footling means to play around aimlessly. And when you get objectives in your mind, I need this, I have to have that. You do the opposite of footling, and you'll lose the chaos. So I'm saying, embrace the footle. And if you're wondering if that's a real word or not, Google it. Footle. To meander or play aimlessly. Is that Tanya? Mostly colour? Yeah. I love the way Monet saw colour. And we don't want to replicate Monet, but certainly in the way he saw the world, that would be a fantastic way for our painting to come into fruition. There you go. Beautiful. Pepe, it's a joke. I missed your joke, Pepe. Birdie, you're off to sleep. That's such a pity. I was enjoying having you here. Yarning away. But that's all good. Grab some sleep, Birdie, and I'll see you on live at a more respectable hour. All the best. The colour of the flowers stands out. It's a shame that, yeah, indeed. So in this picture though, although it looks like there's flowers, there is zero flowers. So we've just got flax down the bottom, some bushes and shrubs here before the lake, and we've got some mountains up here. But in our wild colour palette, as we start dotting the colours down, splashing them around with reckless abandon, it's likely it may look like flowers. But trust me, as this progresses, flowers will not be present. But if you see them, and you are most welcome to see them, know that in the artist's eye, they were not intentional. There we go. Whew. Sandfly. Oh, thank you very much, Jose. You're a legend. And hey, Mason, how we doing? ZJ, I'm doing fantastically. Brother said, maybe if I'd done my missionary training, which I haven't. There we go. Beautiful. Lovely. Keep adding them on in. Now, I want some baby blue, maybe pastel blue. I want some popping green. I want to bring some life into this picture. It's enough red. That's enough red. Hello, Johnny. How we doing? And where am I? This is Rotorua. Rotorua is in the central part of the North Island of New Zealand, and Rotorua is known for its geothermal activity. The geothermal activity in Rotorua is comparable, I'm not sure if it's ahead or just behind, the activity of Yellowstone. So Yellowstone is known for its geothermal activity. There's a geyser there called Old Faithful that explodes every 60 minutes. It's very impressive. But in New Zealand here in Rotorua, and this very lake behind me, there's literally pools of water around the lake that are hot. Beaches that you push your feet into, and boiling water is just under the surface. That's the geothermal activity that we have here at this lake. There's none right in the lake in front of me, but maybe 6 or 7 spots around this lake. And that's a really buzzy concept to think that actually at any point during the year, you can go to a certain place on this giant lake, and the beach, you push your feet into it, and boiling water is just under the surface, enough to cook food. That's geothermal activity right here. So we don't have an Old Faithful geyser, but we do have some amazing activity occurring under the surface. Alright, next colour, what's it going to be? Tell you what, before we jump into that green and blue that I was talking about, I might just leap on the teeniest bit of Indian yellow. Just get that yellow colour into the picture. That's what we're after. Tiniest little bit. Here we go. Alrighty, It's coming along well though. There's a lack of yellow in the picture, which is totally fine. It leans more towards the dark greys in terms of those horizon lines. Probably some yellow, maybe a pastel type will come into the sea here in the sky, but that's for future us to find out. It's like 20 degrees. And that's Fahrenheit too, so that's extra cold. Fahrenheit. Jeepers creepers. 20 degrees Fahrenheit. I was always told to minus 30 then divide by 2. If you do that, negative 5 degrees Celsius, which is cold, baby. That's cold. And guys, congratulations, you pack of legends. We just ticked over to 70,000 likes. Sorry, 7,000 likes. Jumping the gun there a wee bit. It's a lot of thumb taps. A lot of thumb taps. So I appreciate that too. Your effort has not gone unnoticed. And it's good to be back. Good to be slamming some paint on the canvas, playing around, splashing it around. Here we go. Beautiful. Get up through here. Nice. See, these will all change to more of a hue of green. Before that happens, I want to get all these wild colours underneath. You know, the last painting that was similar to this one was the one that went to James. It's the picture of the castle, and that was particularly special. We threaded the needle so fast on that one. I actually gave James a discount because of how fast they came together, which actually, funnily enough, made it more perfect, but I budgeted for more time, so it's pretty cool to be able to do that for James. But that is, to this day, probably in the last 4 years, one of my favourite landscapes that I've been a part of. Pretty special, pretty special. And Naples yellow. This is probably as yellow as we'll get. We won't add like a medium yellow into here. That's that intense primary yellow you're used to. We're going to get more into those tones of green as we go. How do you know how much of each colour to use, Laura? 3 ways to do it. First off, you shoot from the hip, which is go with your gut. Second off, experience. So you'll know that certain projects took this much colour, so this one might take this much. And third off, colour theory. Understanding colour and how much you need to actually balance or change or alter the artwork in different ways. So the first place I'd start, if you're wondering how to do your colours, maybe in a different way, maybe you don't like the way you currently do them, etc., etc., start by reading a book on colour theory. And colour theory is so boring if it's just the mathematics of colour. Go for, and I love this book, The Secret Lives of Colour, which shows you the individual processes and how each colour was discovered and then became famous or became widely adopted. And it's about the creation of the pigments, what pigments were used in each century. It's an amazing book, but it gets you romantic about colour. And once you're romantic about it, you'll be passionate about what colour to choose. Instead of thinking to yourself, hey, I don't know what to do now. Should I be using this colour, this colour? Where's a textbook that tells me what to do? You'll look at your artwork and think, I'd love to see this colour because X. I'd love to see that colour because Y. And that's a powerful thing. So all of a sudden, instead of looking for a guidebook to encourage your own expression, you've got that innately. That's pretty important. And hello Samara. Yes, indeed I am. So, although we're in the shade and it's 5:14, it's still incredibly hot out. So, this is not... I brought 3 pairs of pants and 2 pairs of shorts. I haven't worn any of the pants yet. I've worn the shorts every time. And worn the shorts every time. So, can't wait to wear my pants, don't get me wrong. I haven't yet. Good Samara. Absolutely fantastic. There we go. Samara, do you go by Sam, Samara, or Semi? What's your go? You've popped in enough times, I should probably know now. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I wouldn't know though. I'm down in Rotorua today, so we skip that noise. Usually Samara, some people say Sam. Well, how would you feel, and be honest, if I started saying Sam? Ah, not fussed. Perfect. Perfect. I'll start saying Sam, Samara. Unless I'm waiting for paint to dry and I'm biding for time, I start saying Samara to try and like get an extra 2 syllables and a half second of saving, creating wasted time. So if that starts happening, if I start saying Samara, you'll know I'm biding for time. If that doesn't happen, you'll know we're in a hurry. An extra second. I don't even think it's a second. I think it's more like 0.6 of a second on a good day. Thanks, Rye. So, I think we're going to swap to a smaller brush. But before I do, let me just stand back. Okay, I'm going to combine this Naples, this Indian yellow with a little bit of blue, probably turquoise, get a muddy green, and then I'm going to cut into a few places in the lawn here, and maybe up in the mountains in these bushes here. After I've done that, because they'll require some bigger strokes, we'll grab the smaller brush and probably into some light greens, and then we'll see how the paint's drying. We'll go from there. That is the plan. Alright, turquoise, here we go. And it's probably worth noting it's phthalo turquoise, so it's not perfect turquoise. It's a bit more of a, how do I explain it? A bit more of a murky turquoise. So, into Naples yellow, it's going to create that sort of swampish green. You'll be like, ooh, don't add that to the artwork. Well, trust me, it's going to work in our favour, because once this goes on, then our regular permanent sap green, which we paid a premium for, because it's not Series 1 paint, it's going to jump on and really pop. And we won't be afraid to let that permanent sap green, Series 2, mix in with a lot of that Naples yellow. That's totally okay. So there's our pitch. It doesn't look with a lot of paint, but it's going to pop. It's going to absolutely pop. These big areas, these here, they're going to define the space. They'll get their washes of blue, but more towards the end. There's no hurry on that. I want to get more wild, sporadic colours coming in there. See how that goes. I wonder if they can... Oh, well, alright, that's exciting. Thanks, Ashy, and good to see you. My little easel thing's going to hold it there. Fantastic. Alright, watch this with me. Let's see how we go. There's our phthalo blue. You can see it's not your typical blue. And then we have our Indian yellow. So we'll mix our Indian yellow into our transparency gel first. And then we'll just get little bits of that blue. And you can see that. Bang! There's our green. There's our green. And you can see how it's a slightly off green. It's not that same thing you'd expect to get out of a colour wheel. It's more swampy. slightly olivey, slightly yellowy. The more of this we go into, it's not going to make it more green, it's going to turn it into deeper bluish colour. So that's what we've got. Alright, let's begin. Okay, down here. Now, it's a big brush. It's a big brush, so we want to use that to our advantage. And allow it to create those larger strokes. There we go. Perfect. I want to dance around it a little bit, but I don't want to get in your way the whole time. So that's what we're battling with right now. Do you have a favourite type of brush? I don't have a favourite, Laura, but I do have a default. This one here is 20mm, so 20 is there, and it's a synthetic brush. So synthetic means that it's not too pricey. It's not what artists, especially traditionalists, would consider the best kind of brush. But for this kind of wild, chaotic work, we want some brush strokes included in the work rather than just all turning to smooth paint. So, this brush is absolutely perfect. If you want more bristles, a boar brush or a pig bristle is great to go with. And if you want less strokes, the price of the brush, the less brush strokes it tends to leave. So it's entirely up to you. And hello! That's fantastic, Steve. I'm very glad. Yeah, I wanted to send them to you. It was a little bit early, but I wanted to send them through because I wanted to make sure that the Christmas New Year period, you had those pictures. That was the goal. So, pictures, those projects, I wanted to make sure you had them. That was my intention. There we go. Beautiful. Over on the side here, bear with me. There we go. Lovely. Now in the actual picture, there's a yacht here. Its mast comes up through the picture. The client, lovely lady, her name's Hannah, has told me to ignore that. So we just want to capture the scenery with wild, chaotic paint, just enough that you can recognise it. So when we talk about recognising scenery, we want to make sure that this tree here has correct form. The little brushes, plants coming out from the side here have correct form, and the mountains here have correct form. This here, although it still needs to be correct, can have more of a loose, wild nature to it. That's where we're at. You are more than welcome, Steve. I'm glad to hear that. And please excuse the fact that I sent through the Art Battle picture without a frame on it. It was very costly just to ship that one to start with. So I thought, look, it's important it reaches Steve. But so I'm glad I sent it. I felt like it belonged with you, rather than it's actually been a picture that when you come down the hallway of my house, you leave the foyer, you come down the hallway, it's on the right just before you go into the bathroom for the longest time. And pink, I know it sounds like a, it's like, oh, it's important Steve got it, because Steve owns the original Zambezi work, which is a character from India, a indigenous gentleman from India, and Steve owns that work. I repainted the same picture at a contest, and so I thought, rather than having this artwork and either owning it or selling it, Steve owns the original, let's give that to Steve as well. So I had a work already shipping to Steve, which was Maui Strong. I thought, okay, I'll include it in the shipment, which, yeah, I hope they both arrive safe. That's fantastic. That's the idea. Alright. Righty tighty tighty. Like I said, onto this green, we're spotting little pockets for it to go. Now, the other thing we've got to do, move from green slowly into our whites. If you're wondering what that was transparency gel. So we're going to go from that deep green to a sap light green. The sap green is going to come over the top of this. It's going to look different, especially on drying. The deep green is going to have more power. Sap green is going to have more saturation. Because the pigment between the colour that's been mixed. So if I mix blue with white, for example, and made like a baby blue, its pigment strength would be more than if I just bought a baby blue, say, paint tube. All over this lawn. That's what I'm after. I'm not going to be afraid to do big, bold strokes. Big, bold strokes. Get rid of that white in here. This is going to get us back to that sort of minty, limeish green that we're after. Hey Megan, welcome on in. Minty, limeish green. Here we go. Perfect. Perfect. Here too. Nice. Beautiful. Alright, almost there. See how these strokes are bigger than the other ones? Not afraid. Not far off switching to a smaller brush, but right now, big strokes are the key. Beautiful. Around here. Ah. Then up in the sky. Right up here into this gap here, which hasn't actually been touched to the full of its extent. And we'll take it there. Alright team. Whew. It's been a big day, and we're going to pause there. So, bit of red, bit of blue, bunch of green, different tones, and 10,000 likes. That's phenomenal, guys. Thank you very much. Well, I think you can start to see it now. You've got this horizon line here with some hills at the far end of the lake, a tree coming in from the left here. This one's just starting to come in. It's lighter than the rest. It's very delicate. And then this is the edge of the lake here. So this is the actual water of the lake. And then this is grass. And then flax down here. The flax to grass wants to be quite disjointed, quite wild, but I'm liking where it's at. We've got a lot of colour in it right now. The key to it from here on out is getting more shades of green in there. More shades of green to build out that depth in the landscape. That's the plan. Alright, thank you everyone who, oh, Hugh Wait Pink. the amount of shades of green they have to go into this now, maybe 9 more. 3 in the middle, 3 light and 3 dark, just to really build out. You'll see this area, I'll critique it, and this is going to be quite rough pink, so bear with me. I'll critique it and say that this area here, although there's lots of colour, is flat. When we start building in those different shades, you'll start to see the distancing from it, because the light has that effect. And then the lake here, the deeper shades of green towards the back, create that rolling effect, sort of create a rounding, distant landscape coming in there. And the sky here, it's got to be more blues, but we've already added a lot of greens in there. That'll have this very, very smooth but expansive nature to it. And that's where we're at. Anyway, guys, I'm so sorry. Where are we now, couple? You've just arrived. We're on the move. I'm just about to finish. Can we see a close-up of the texture in the painting? Yeah, of course. That's a very relevant question. Thanks, Laura. I appreciate that. All right, I'll bring you up here. Now, when we come right up close, remember, when you're up close on these works, we don't want to see definition or the exact picture. We want it to turn into wild paint. So it wants to go from back here, a sort of semi-landscape with some lines, maybe a field heading out to a lake, to completely wild paint. So let me bring you right up close here. Here we go. This is what it looks like up close. Wild, chaotic brush strokes. See that green one? That's everything we're after. That's what we're after. Bring you down here so you can start to see those pink layers coming in between. Wild paint. And then when you come back, it formulates a picture. So if you're sitting down beside it, having a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, it's not like this giant picture's overbearing or too intense for you. It's just sitting there as wild paint. But then when you stand back in the room and you're away from it and you're on the other side, the whole picture comes together. And that's the beauty. That's what we're after. Anyway, guys, look after yourselves. All the best. And I will see you shortly. Bye, guys.